Welcome everyone to this week's Force Friday. Today we have a unique video. Usually they're more about topics within, force drawing itself, but today I'm really proud to present this new force brush pack that we've been working on. As you can see, it has 9 brushes in it. So Swenley, Mritunjay, and I are just going to demo. We're going to demo today and give you guys a sense of what's so special about this brush pack. As you know, there's tons of different brushes on the internet that people are selling. And we want to show you why these really work well with what we teach. So if you're interested in force, we recommend that you get this. It also tells you that you're using the same tools as us. We're not using any kind of weird, proprietary, meaning something that we've only designed that you can't get your hands on, right? This is the stuff that we're using. So there's no excuse of like, oh, they must be using a special brush. That's why their drawing looks the way it does and mine does not, right? So you have access to this. And the link to these brushes is down in the description, so you can just go to the link to go check it out and see if you're interested. But we're really proud of this. I think that I've been using this now for the last few months in mentorship sessions and in premiums, and I've been getting used to at least more than half of these brushes. So like I said, today we're going to demo. So you'll get to see each one of us, do this work, okay? All right, so we're gonna start with Swenley. So I'm gonna pass this off to you. Let me empower you here. Co-host, cancel, oh. Co-host, there we go.
Do I have power?
Yes, you do. And then I'm going to give this to Mritunjay while we're at it as well. Okay. All yours, Mritunjay. All yours, Swenley.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's go to Clip Studio. Okay, cool. So yeah, we have, after a lot of students and artists asking about the brushes, they're finally released and ready on the website. So this was just me exploring the, so let me open my brush tools here so you can see. This was me exploring the, where is it now? The Force Sculpting brush. Oh yeah, this one, the Force Sculpt. So, as you can see, pretty crisp and nicely textured brush, so great for sculpting. And I'm just going to do some demos, draw, have some fun. So let me start with this picture since it's up.
I have to say that one feels really good with your blue line. The addition of the texture in there feels really good. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I like the effect a lot as well.
Yeah, it's cool.
And quick tip on the technical sides, because students often download the brushes and then the brushes don't respond like they would expect them to respond. So I would recommend just learning the brush engine of the software you're using. We live in the information age, so all it takes is a quick YouTube search and a couple of minutes of your time. And then, when you have a brush, then you can quickly adjust it to respond the way you want to respond, because it's going to respond a bit different depending on the software. So let's see. Let's start with the soft touch. I'm normally not that fond of soft brushes, but I must say that I've developed a liking to this one. I think it's great to, just take the pressure off. Now, as you can see, it's quite light and it allows me to build up, the drawing. Now I could go even bigger, if I really want like some broader strokes. You can get some fast sketching in here, just to get a pose down. And I think the great thing today is that we can all go all out. I always think about, for those of you who are familiar with Dragon Ball, I always think about Dragon Ball while teaching, because you kind of have to suppress your abilities, as a teacher, and confine yourself to the lesson that you're teaching. But when I draw for myself, I'm using everything, using force, form, shape, anatomy, I'm using design. Let's see, let's add, because the perspective is quite like dramatic, so I like just adding some like perspective guidelines to the floor to get a good sense of the space that the model is in. So I have the overall gesture. So the great thing about this brush is that you can just make it smaller and you can start going into the finer details. So now I'm drawing the shoulder blade back here. Now the deltoid, pulling from the shoulder blades and go into the arm. Seems like it's a bit hyperextended. Getting some form. Like the pull of the trapezius back here. Now a lot of compression going on this side. And if you keep going over the line, of course, it will get nice and dark. So you want to give yourself the room to build up the thickness and darkness of your strokes. And I think this brush is great for those purposes. Also, if you're just starting with force, especially, it's highly recommended that you use the soft touch. See, let's use his shorts here to show the direction of the form. Get a heel back here. I love the gesture of his foot. And you can see a tiny hint of that bottom plane. A lot of thrusting power into this leg. And I'm just watching the angle. I don't want to angle it too much, otherwise the figure, of course, will lose balance. So maybe I need to change it just a little bit. Now again, because my initial lines were so like broad and soft, it's easy for me to go back in here and make corrections. Now this is the contact point with the floor, so I want to make this nice and dark. Now I often see students leaving the contact points of the foot with the floor quite light, and it always looks to me like as if the figure weighs like a feather. So you want to use the visual weight of the line to show the physical weights of the model. See, this is wrapping around. Get some more details here of the guy's shorts. See, like all the pulling up in the back, and look at this back. I can see, especially on this side, I can see like his skin is wrapping around. Also, right sense of roundness in here. Same here on the compression side. I like the amount of stretch in this deltoid. You can really see how the shape of that muscle is stretching under all the energy of the arm. As you can see, I'm keeping this very fast and loose. Remember that this is a drawing. It's not a photocopy of the reference. So you need to leave some room for your own artistic expression. And I noticed that the upper torso looks a bit wide, so I can easily go back in here and make this darker. You know, and the lighter lines start like visually disappearing in a sense. So again, great versatile brush, you know, for force drawing. Okay, so let's test out another one. Let's hide this layer and let me grab another reference. So I'm going to use the force gesture brush, you know, and I just made another version of it with a lower opacity, set to 60% instead of 100%. Who's keeping track of the time, by the way, so I don't just draw the whole hour. Let's see. So we have the torso in here. Let's see how big I want to get with the brush. So not as soft as the other one, as you can see, but that makes it great for gesture drawing, you know, like especially if you have like 30 seconds or 1 minute poses. Not that you can use a soft brush, but you know, I like having a brush that is a bit more like direct, like this one. And let's get to the legs. I'm going to rely a bit more on force shapes here to get the proportion and the perspective right. Get a bit of form. This is all going down. And I'm thinking about where that farther pelvis is. Like you can see there's a tilt in the pelvis, so the farther edge of the pelvis is a bit lower. And then you have the thigh popping out of that. Just checking this angle. So visually, this lower leg appears quite short. So my mind keeps wanting to make it longer, but I have to just trust what I see. Let's see. This is going slightly away from us in space. This is going down. I can use our top to help me see the form of the upper torso. Here would be the pelvis. So just adding some wrapping into the mix to help me see the forms. Now I want to understand how the thigh fits into the pelvis. Now I always use the underpants analogy. Now, a very quick way to get the form in the pelvis area. Here's the bit of the neck, of the clavicle, into the deltoid. Now this arm is coming right at us, so a lot of foreshortening. And this is going up. The hand back here holding the sword. You can see the elbow sticking out. Watch the angle of the sword. And if the figure is holding a prop, you know, you want to draw that, you know, even if they're like sitting on a chair or in a box, or whatever it is. You know, I have to see students get into the habit of only drawing the figure, and then you have all these floating figures, you know, even when the figure is interacting with something, you know, it could be a sword, a staff, whatever it is part of the story, you know, it's part of the pose. So you want to include that. See, I'm thinking about the hidden deltoid back here. Arm is going up. And this hand is holding the sword. So this all coming towards us in space, and this is going away from us. She happens to be bending her head. And when you're working with four shapes, silhouette comes into play. It's important to keep track of the silhouette of the figure and check your positive and negative shapes, to make sure that everything reads nice and clear. So for that, let's see, where is it? So you have the soft touch. You can use the four shape fill, for example. Even if you want to like tone in the torso, I could come in here and quickly add some tone to the drawing, to clarify the silhouette. I could easily fill in the whole figure. So we can get a quick impression of how the pose reads in silhouette. Now with the hair going behind the ear and like dropping down. And you can see a little hint of the hair back there. I want to make that a bit clear, so I'm going to make that shape pop out a bit more clearly than in the reference. Checking these angles, so this all looks good. I could add more form, thinking about the upper torso. And see, you already have the pelvis, like the drive of energy from the stomach, pushing the pelvis up on this side. Well, you can see the spat from the stomach, to the rear ends, over the pelvis, down into the thigh. So even when you're working with shapes, those spats are like super important to keep track of. Okay, this looks good. I think I'm going to do one last one and then give it over to, I think Mike is next, right?
Yep, next up, whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's do a quick one. So we went to these guys. Let's go for the Force sketch pencil. This one is one of my favorites. I've been using it a lot for teaching. Let's see, this guy is leaning over, make it just a bit smaller. So this is all going away from us in space. I'm using wrapping to quickly get that. And thinking about the underpants form, quick way to get some form and structure into the pelvis and making sure that the legs attach properly. Move them up so I don't make the legs too short. Now I want this angle. Quickly get some anatomy in here. Add the inner calf. Add some wrapping. All right, so I think I'm going to pass it over to Mike.
Okie dokies. Let's see, let me grab this. New share. All right. Welcome back to my Photoshop. So here's a drawing that I just did recently using the new brushes. I've been using these brushes now for some time, like I said, in mentorship and what do you call? And premium. And that's helped me get acclimated to them. You know, here I'm using, this is just 2 brushes, which I'll show you today. We'll go over some of the other ones as well. So let's just take a look. Here's the reference for this. I'm going to kind of redraw this. I'll dissect it down to how did I get here, right? So the primary brushes that I've been finding myself using, you can see I brought the pack up to the top of my list in Photoshop. The primary ones I've been finding myself use are the gestures, soft touch, the animator notes, and the classic. Sometimes I'll use the shape fill if I want to be really fast about it. I'll push the gesture brush or the soft touch brush really large just to get a very soft fill. In the opposite direction of what Swenley said, I like both brushes too, but I have to say when I'm doing the force stuff, I usually find myself working with the softer brush to like build up and then try to like tie it down. And the bolder one I'll use for notes or for cleanup. You know, I'll use that like towards the end. As you can see, I think in Swenley's style, the brushes further towards the bottom with the texture worked out really, really well. You know, they're bold, and plus it gives you a little bit of an organic feel to the brush also. So, but as you can see here in this drawing I was showing earlier, there's a lot of like soft touching. There's a lot of this ghosting that's going on, right? Trying to figure it out. So I'm gonna try to redraw it. It'll obviously not be exactly the same because it's a new drawing. So let's start here. I want to talk. One thing also I noticed that I do is I play with the scale of the brush a lot. My fingers, I'm basically drawing with my hand. I'm a righty, so I'm drawing with my right hand. And I'll have my 2 fingers on the control key and the alt key on the PC, or the control and option key on the Mac. And I'm constantly scaling up and down. So that's how I'm doing it. If you ever see this like circle pop up like that, by the way, that's what I'm doing. Those 2 brushes, if you hold those 2 brushes down and you slide left and right, it scales a brush up and down. And if you slide up and down, it plays with the opacity. You can see the number there, right? It's like now it's at 71% or up to 100. So I usually stay at 100. I don't usually change that too much. And with the soft touch brush, you don't really need to change it because it's light enough. On a side note, something I never talk about is in my Cintiq settings, I'm on an old 21UX Cintiq. In there, what I do is I set the pen to firm, right? So it means I could have to push a little harder to get things to work out the way I want them to, right? So this brush, look at it, it's like massive, right? Let me put this to black, that would help. All right, it's massive, okay? And you know, students normally don't see this giant cursor, especially if you hit caps lock. By the way, if this is annoying, which to me it is at this size, if you hit caps lock, it'll just make it disappear and you only have this little cursor. So it looks like I'm drawing with a little brush, right? Like, look at that little brush. But here's the brush, okay? Just to give you a sense of how lightly I am drawing compared to the size of the brush itself. Okay, so I'm usually drawing with a very big brush and I'm just drawing very lightly, right? And you know, that gives me room to push down harder if I want to make it a little bigger or a little darker, right? But I can kind of like feel my way around, and I like having no commitment, right? I'm just like, oh, look, I can just goof off here and like flow around and just try to feel this stuff out. It's like, okay, that leg's gonna come in there. You'll notice if you've watched our prior videos, a lot of conversation around you know, invisible paths and ghosting and circles and ellipses. So, you know, pay attention today, you know, looking at that little cursor moving around, you know, like what path am I taking as I'm doing so, right? So a lot of this is happening. And then obviously I scale down as I feel like I want to tie stuff in, right? Because for me to get to black, I have to push harder. And for me to push harder, I need to make the brush smaller, right? Because if I push hard, look at the size still of this brush. It's super big, right? So I'm constantly playing with the scale of the brush relative to how dark I want the line, because I need a smaller brush to get to those darker lines, right? So that's what I'm constantly doing. And at this point, it's like habit, it's my fingers on the keyboard are just naturally there. I don't even think about the fact that they're sitting there, okay? So here I am, I'm goofing off. I love this pose in that it's really pushing hard into the shoulder, which is why I grabbed it. I'm like, ooh, man, that feels really dramatic, right? And I'm purposely taking here a little extra time. I just want you to see how I want you to take extra time. I would probably go more fast to black here, but I want you to take the time, like take the time trying to figure all this stuff out. Here I'm thinking about the foot coming down and then it squashes down like this, right? I want to think about the perspective. I can draw those. I'll make this a little smaller, right? So I want to get that foot to the leg, right? Like get all that landing correctly to the hand, which feels like it's like way out here. It feels so far away compared to the compared to the body, right? So here it is. I've got his head here, right? So I just love the flow, right? I'm like, ooh, look at that. Look at his chin and his beard, like really makes his chin jut out there. Here's his arm. By the way, everyone always asks about proportion and location. Well, this is how you do it, right? Because now I'm soft touching. I got plenty of time to like look. It's like, is this negative space right over here? Is this going to work out up here, right? What's the angle of his back? I'm looking at his chest right now. I'm like, it's kind of muddy. I'm going to shrink my brush down and I'm going to start making some final decisions here on that stuff, right? It's like, oh, I need this kind of angle. I want this like power in that shoulder, right? Like lots of power in that shoulder. His deltoids over here and it's like sweeping down and around like this. So you can see all the work that's going into making this happen. And then sort of finalizing into that gray ooze that I put down to clarify those forces, right? And then to what Swenley was doing, the better you get at this, the more you don't need all this soft touching, right? You can get, I could have done the drawing pretty much the way I'm doing right now with this line, but I actually enjoy it. I actually enjoy the soft touching and just kind of, I just like moving. I think I like moving around. I like the act of just moving my hand around, and flowing all over the place. And then, and trying to keep that going, I want to try to keep that feel going here. Like, let's try to get like a really nice gesture out of this leg. There's like a nice pop in the quadricep up here, and then it flows down to this knee like that, right? Like, man, I love the little pointedness of this, and he's fleshy there. His legs like this, right? His crotch like swoops out like this, right? And then this sweeps down, right? So, again, sweeping, swooping, squashing, you can hear my language. I'm trying to get the line to do that for me. So this is all with one brush, right? This is all soft touch brush, super powerful brush, all right? Like you could just do this alone and this is more than enough to like learn how to draw with force, right? Like all that would work with what we have right here, you see? Just this one brush. So there it is. So to be artsy, what I did in my other drawing, as I went and grabbed the gesture brush because I know that it has texture in it. And I just was like, you know what? And sometimes I use it to draw the figure, and I'll do that again in another reference. But sometimes, in this case, I used it because I was like, oh, the texture is really cool. I like the roughness of it, and his beard feels rough to me. So I just started blocking out the shape of Esteban's beard here with the brush, you see. I was like, wow, okay, I want to get like this hairy, rough texture, right? So I just added that in there. It's not a force thing, it's just an artsy thing. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I want to feel that out, right? So I did that. So that's pretty much how he did this. Now, the other brush that's super comparable to this that I could mix right in here and you would never really know, right? Super subtle is the Force Classic. Has a very similar kind of feel to it. There is differences in the brush, but I can work it the same way. And we don't teach rendering, but I got to say these brushes, these soft brushes, man, they are like liquid gold. It's like magic as to how you can do that, right? I can get ambient occlusion in here, which is the shadows right along the edge of the surface of something when it's touching the ground, right? So I can get that really well. And here I can, you know, I can tone in very quickly the shape on the ground, right? As you can see. So easy, so damn easy to just get, you know, again, those of you that want a bit of light and shadow in your work, you want to get in some tone, right? Not too difficult to do this, okay? So I love, you know, I love those two brushes. They work really well together. You know, the classic, this is the classic right now. Super, you know, super malleable, right? Again, I can go like really big, or I can get down to really small line and, you know, get in those nuances if I want, right? Afterwards, you see? Yeah, I could basically use either one of these brushes just all the time, right? They feel very forceful to me. It feels very natural to me to work with these, right? So I'm just doing this out of my head right now, of course. But you can see it works, you know, it works well. Those of you that are new to drawing with force, I would recommend one of these two because they're forgivable, extremely forgivable, right? It's like the softness allows you to sit and think and work as much as you need to before you have to make decisions, right? Here, let's go to the beginning of this one again, except use the, let me just double check. Yep, that I'm on classic. You know, again, I can come in here really big and soft, right? Look at that, right? So forgiving. I can just move around. It's like, I want the shoulder there. I want this feel for his back. Some people are like, well, when do I know? How do I know when to go smaller? You'll know. You'll be like, I need more information, right? This is just, you know, I feel like I'm drawing clouds here. Like, you'll feel the frustration of it in a natural sense. You'll be like, you know, I need to see more. Like right now, I'm still okay, but I'm starting to feel that urge of like, okay, all right, enough with this being this soft, right? You know, I still want to get the arm in there, right? So I'm flowing around and I'm like, all right, I need more, right? I need more information here. I want to start like slowly zoning in, right? So, and you know, and again, the more I want to get to accuracy, the darker I make it, the smaller the brush becomes, right? And you know, it's just the way it works digitally. If this was the real world, you know, traditional materials, I wouldn't need to do this. I would do this based on like how I held the tool, right? I would rotate like that Lyra graphite from a soft edge to a hard edge, right? Here, it's about playing with the scale of the brush, right? So here I'm playing with the scale of the brush to give me that, you know, that same effect, right? See, so I have enough here for me to start saying, well, here's like the force of it, right? Start pushing into here, right? Feeling this energy, you know, and the thing you know, and you want to watch, don't go to detail without it really being about force, right? I want to, and I could feel myself slipping into that. So I'm like, I don't want to forget this. Right? I don't want to forget this, right? I want this pushing and going up here and allow yourself the room to work, you know? Be nice to yourself, give yourself room, let yourself sit and think and work. I noticed like, oh, I just made that leg shorter. I'm like, it's pretty damn small, right? Very small, oddly small, right? Because the foreshortening is so strong, the tube of the leg is going away so drastically, right? That I have to like pay attention to that. I want his shorts here. I keep thinking about the form of his body going up, right? You want to learn how to draw, you got to draw. I can't tell you how many times every week I say that in mentorship. You want to learn how to draw, then draw, right? Like don't hold back by getting the lines, you know, on the screen or on the page, right? Just do the work, right? So yeah, so this is all classic, right? I'm in the classic right now. I love it, right? I could, like I said, no problem here. I could definitely work with this as much as I can with the soft touch. Pretty much handles the same way. You know, it's got the same kind of function to it. The way the soft gentleness of it is really nice, right? Again, very forgiving, and I like that, right? So that's that brush. The other brush that I'll use is I like also going to this one. I'll use the gesture brush pretty often. At the beginning, I was using this one primarily, actually. Right, this one's got a little more oomph to it, a little more texture. You know, look how big I'm getting, right? I'm like, it's too small, it's too small. It's because I'm trying to get the forgiveness of it that I had out of the soft touch. This one's not as forgiving, so I got to go bigger and really draw lighter. Because once it gets in there, it's like, look at me, right? It's just so dramatic and so flary, right? It's a real attention getter kind of brush. So I have to like try to numb it a little bit because I like drawing like this. It's okay. Like, it's okay, Mr. Brush, that you're like that, but I'm going to make you do what I want you to do. Right. So, I'm like, a little more forgiving. I'm going to come in nice and light. I can get, and this lets me to like rev up, right? I can like really rev up here and get all this flow happening, right? And that's what I want. See, I like this part. I like this part a lot, right? I want to get all this movement happening. And I like just building and building and flowing. And, I could spend all day just sitting and doing this and getting all this stuff to move around, right? Like, look at how, and then the more I do it, the more I start finding things. I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, this is sticking out a little bit over here and coming up into here, right? And, and as I said before, the practice of this will get you out of this. If you want to get out of all the soft touch, the way out of it is doing a lot of soft touch, right? Like to what Swenley was doing, it's about doing a lot of that to get to that kind of efficiency that he was showing you, right? So here it is. Right now I can say, all right, I know you want to show off, right? Like, let's start like getting a little flare in here and allowing this line to do its thing. So I'm testing the size here, right? Like, I want to try to get to a place where I can push down pretty hard and then be in control of this guy, right? So that feels pretty good. Right, I've got his elbow here, and it's sweeping up with his hand, right? And of course, the trick again in cleanup, right, as I'm starting to get a little more information, is I don't want to lose the force of it, right? Don't want to lose the force of all this, right? So it's like, what's this doing? What's the hand doing, right? You could see how I'm trying to keep my initial ideas alive, right? You don't want to get into a cleanup stage where you're killing things. That, man, I can't tell you how often that happens, right? Like, that's all the time. So you just, and the answer to that, by the way, is you just got to keep moving, right? Your hands got to keep moving. I slow down and I turn this, I can right now just kill this drawing. I'll go, okay, here's his thumb. Here's the shape of his thumb. Here's his hand, right? Like, boom, I just put the brakes on everything, right? So I don't want to do that. I'm like, wow, I want to feel his thumb, pushing out into this bone, right? And then the sweep that's going on in it, right? Me doing that physically is what gives the drawing its oomph, right? So I like all that. I'm not going to get all the way into his hands and fingers here because I'll spend all day doing that. You can see I'm off a little bit here, and that's okay. I would do this again. And what I'm saying I'm off on is the negative space here, right? I need to push this over. I'm going to bring his body over a little bit more like this. So there, that's better. All right, let's see. We got his collarbone in here, his jaw, right? His face, right? His neck, his sternocleido is in there. His chest, which we really can't see. We've got his stomach. I love all this line down here, right? All this pulling that's happening, right? So I'm going to kind of like tone it in almost and feel that out. I'm shrinking down again because I'm like, oh, let me get some detail here. Let me get the other side of his arm, right? So just from an appeal standpoint, who knows? You might be out there right now looking, going like, oh my God, I love that line. Or, oh, I really like the classic, right? That's fine, whatever floats your boat. But we're obviously fine with both of these. We've been, testing these for some time now. To Mrityunjay's chagrin, Mrityunjay was really he's really the father of all this stuff. So I have to give credit to Mrityunjay for coming up with this idea and pushing on me for us to create like a new set of brushes. And then Swenley and I basically have been taste testing and editing, and I'm just really trying to get it to a place where I think it was as useful as possible to you guys, So, and I'm really pleased. I'm very, very happy, I have to say, with the brushes. Why does this matter? Like, one of my old arguments would be like, oh, it's not the materials, it's you. And it is you. By the way, this is probably gonna destroy the idea of even showing you these brushes, but I'm gonna say it, and that is, the brushes are not gonna make you a force artist, right? But they're gonna help. They're gonna help you work the way we want you to work, right? You still have to move your hand, right? You have to move the brush. You have to be thinking the way we're thinking to get this to start moving like this. But the brushes are a step in the right direction, right? And on another side note, I'm just as guilty as anybody else of every time I walk into an art store, I just got to buy something, right? It's like, I just can't help but buy some new pen or some new brush or some new ink or some new graphite, some new toy that I just got to bring home and I have to play with and test drive, right? Because we're artists, and it's part of creativity, I think, is the inspiration of getting your hands on new things. You don't just do the same thing day in and day out. Otherwise, you'd be an accountant, right? So I think in that sense alone, this is great because you have some new things to play with that hopefully inspire you, to sit down and want to work, right? Because you're excited about the experience that tool gives you. What does it feel like to use this, right? That's very exciting. And then you got to bring all the other stuff that we share with you week in and week out on force. What does it mean to think that way? And what does it mean to physically move this way to get these drawings to work, right? So those are the ones I primarily use. I love Notes. I think Notes is really great. This is like, the ink brush, right? I can go over this whole drawing and ink it out. I use this admittedly as like notes when I'm talking to students a lot. So I'll be like, hey, watch the negative space here, right? If this was a student coming in, I'd be like, oh, you kind of lost this whole shape in here, right? So watch out for that. But this is a great cleanup brush too, right? Like I could sit and ink with this. We do a Frazetta thing. This would work really well with it, or for Gibson. We also have this other brush in here that works well for that also. These sculpting ones, right? You got Sculpt. So it's got a little bit more texture in it. The other one that you just saw is really clean, right? So this brush works really well. I like this brush at smaller sizes, like this and smaller. Too big, and I'm like, I don't like the graveliness of it, the speckliness of it. I'd rather use this brush you see on the right-hand side, the gesture brush. But the smaller sizes, I like this a lot. It feels like an ink on paper. It just gives it enough of line. I think, Swenley, is this the one that you were using in your blue one?
Is that a sculpting brush?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, so this worked really well with Swenley's work, right? And then you have the shape fill. So shape fill is good. It's just like a nice, nice soft texture. You see what I mean? So you can kind of ghost with this, but the shape of it's not really as meant for drawing as the other ones are. But when we talk about shape and design, this one's really excellent. This is also a great render brush again, because it's just so damn soft and forgiving, So that one's good as well. I'll leave some of the other ones for Mrityunjay to talk about, and I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm pretty much finished. It's all yours, Mrityunjay.
Alrighty. Oh, I already got the power. So.
Yes, you're all powered up.
All right. Thank you, Swendy and Mike. That was really great. So, Mike and Swendy covered most of it. So I'm gonna keep our heads here so you can see the brushes. Yeah, so let's jump in. By the way, this is one of my favorite videos because thank God, man. I mean, for two reasons. First thing is now I can just point anyone to this link to the videos, like anyone gonna be asking, because I've been tired of answering this question like 100 times a week, like in every mentorship meeting. They're like, oh, what brush are you using? What brush are you using? And I do believe that Mike and Soli will be getting a lot of those questions as well. So
yeah, already have.
we are tired with it. And
Yes.
that's this video is gonna help a lot. So finally it's released. And the second thing is because we just got to draw, today with all our power without any interruptions. I mean, without any foundations. Okay, so we can just like test out rigorously like all these brushes. All right, so we got 9 brushes, and yeah, I mean, all the brushes are just like set up, so basically the brushes are for Clip Studio Paint and Photoshop, so we tested out, Swendy actually tested them out in Clip Studio Paint, and me and Mike tested them out in Photoshop. But I think some of the members on Discord actually told me that these brushes, they actually imported in Affinity Photo and one of the other programs, I don't remember, but they work in that too. Okay, but I don't guarantee the actual performance of these brushes because I don't tested them in those programs. So maybe you can try it out. Maybe it works, but maybe it works in a different way. So the thing is, yeah, sorry. this brush here, right? Let's see. Okay, so right there, right, this brush here is my favorite brush. I mean, so you know what the inspiration of the actually making these brushes is, I just want to like bring in the traditional feel, you know, to my digital space. So and you can see like it just feels like a pencil, you know, to me. So more like a 10B pencil rather than a 2B pencil. Okay. Just like Mike was mentioning that brushes are not going to make you a force artist. But the thing is, they do help. Okay. So for example, if someone would hand us over like an H pencil, right? Our lines wouldn't be as good, right? Yeah, they'll be confident, but wouldn't look as good, right? So tools do help you, but only when you you know, use it with your skill. Okay. So I like that. So anyway, so coming back to a brush, like you see, like it's kind of textured. And these brushes are made with what do you say? Like importing the real textures and integrate that into the brush engine of the Photoshop to like, and you see like this texture path here, like these textures are loaded and these textures are like scanned from like real world. Okay, so if you see like a pencil texture and it is made with pencil on real paper. Okay, so that's what helps me to like, you know, build out these brushes very realistically. All right. So I've been doing a lot. Like this is my favorite one. I would say 90% of the time I've been using that. The other ones are more like you know, especially when you're a beginner, you just want to like see those different things first and then you gotta learn it. So to observe those different things, you gotta like, oh, you know, I want like the soft touch thing. So you know, I'm just gonna do the soft touch and then I'm gonna choose another brush and then I'm gonna put that in, you know, to like do all the details. This brush, I agree with Mike here. So this is not that forgiving, okay? Because, but for the aggressive drawing lovers out there, you know, just like me, this brush is great, right? It's almost like, oh, you know, I can just freely go in and everything is under my control, okay? So actually, one of the reasons that I don't want to give this, I don't want to see it's in under my control, right? I can make this brush like really easy to use, but I do want to give you one brush that is not that controlled because not that controlled over like with the digital space. Okay, so it's like, oh, you cannot do anything in here, and you just gotta use the brush itself. You know, I can make this brush like really, I could have made this brush like really you know, light and, you know, easy to use, but I just want to give you something that is more traditional related. So in traditional, what do you have? You have a pencil and a paper, okay? And all you have to do, every stroke that you made is just that with one tool. All you have to do is change your grips, right? Change your pressure. And this brush is like that, okay? So if you that is upon you, right? See, like I am putting a very light pressure right now, and then I'm putting a really dark pressure right now. So it's under my control, like, and it's not controlled by the digital space, like the technicalities as much. Okay, so this is one of those. Everything is in under my control. Now this brush is, I really want to like name it the versatile brush, to be honest, because it does everything. You know, it does sculpting, it does like the soft touch. You see, like if I make this brush really big, you know, it all does all the soft touch thing, and then I can make it smaller, and I can, you know, do details with it. And I can sculpt with it even if I wanted to. So and by the way, just Mike was mentioning Mike's hand, the left hand is always on the Alt key, I guess, right? But I don't use the Alt one. I have that option too, and I just have to like try it out for some reason. Yeah, something like that, right? But I just find it a little bit difficult. So my two key left hand, like the two fingers are always on bracket keys, like these ones. Yeah, so it's like, and you might be hearing like this tick tick sound like again and again because I've been changing my brush size a lot. Okay, so I want to like do a soft touch, I can do something like this, and then I want to do some details. I can just quickly you know, do change the size of the brush, and I can go in and do the details. So not an undo button, right? My left hand is not an undo button, just the two bracket thing. Okay. All right. Whoops. I just want to bring that in the last. Okay. So some of these brushes, by the way, this one, okay, another layer here, pretty quick. So I like this one a lot as well. You know, I'm gonna show you some drawings instead of just like showing you just testing out because Mike and Swendy actually did that. For you, I'm just gonna show you some drawings here really quick. These are some of the drawings that I did in the past months. Actually, I made these brushes like, I don't know, like 5 months ago, and 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and we've been testing them out since. So actually, the claim on the website that we did, millions of drawings, right? Billions of drawings.
That's right.
That is actually true, you know. Yeah, I might be over exaggerating, but you know, it's just fun.
Hundreds of years in the making.
Yeah, it's in the making. So 5 months is just testing them out. Anyway, so here's one, right? And I did this sculpting thing with this brush here. Actually, I made this brush earlier than this gesture brush here. So I've
Which
been
one
using,
is that? Is that the soft touch or is that the classic?
oh, I think it's a classic. I'm just gonna put in the names here. Yeah, that's a classic pencil right there.
Yeah, that's a good brush.
Yeah, so I think yeah, I made this earlier and I've been using that primarily. And then this gesture brush comes in and it destroys everyone. So but anyway, this is a very good brush, I would say. Again, very versatile. You see like all the sculpting that I did with this. So you know, I do think that changing the size of a brush actually matters a lot because this is what I've been looking into the students' work and they are not changing the brush size. They're always keeping it the same. They're keeping it very broad or very thin. So if you're keeping it very thin, again, it's just going to create this very squeaky line, you know, like this. And
yeah, scratchy, right?
yeah, scratchy line. And then it just feels like a H pencil, right? You're working on a smooth newsprint in an H pencil, which is like kind of cringy to me a little bit. And then if you make it too bigger, right, and you just yeah, and like, which is good, you know, you want to do the soft edge, but then you want to also do some details, which is like the sculpting, or you want to refine some shapes or something like that, and you have to like decrease this brush size down. So people are doing it broadly. Let's say they are just changing the brush size like once in a while or something like that, then that's not gonna work as well. Okay, so I think changing the brush size is like really the trick here. If you want to get like most out of these brushes. Here's some drawing. Now this is done with gesture pencil, and the texture that you see actually is yeah, I just like made the brush bigger. Okay, so what I did is actually you see like it's a 20-minute study, so it's a little bit longer. I did it more carefully, but you see like all the lines and all the shade that's been created with this just one brush. Okay, so I made the brush bigger, just like toned it down. I could have used like the shape fill for sure, which I'm gonna show you a drawing, which is really good. I mean, it kind of feels satisfying to you know, to me. It's like, oh, I'm pressing onto that brush, but it doesn't like create that strong tone. So yeah, you know, feels soft, feels soft. Okay. So that is one. This is one again, just with the same brush. See, like the amount of information that I can put in with that kind of brush. It's more like a calligraphic brush, I would say. You know, it changes the thickness and in the direction that you're moving, it actually changes according to that. So yeah, it's a good one. So I showed you the sculpting one. I showed you some drawings here. Okay. Yeah, again, the same brush, you know. I know like I've been focusing on that like too much. And here's some more, you know, this one I really like as well. So this one is specifically for sketching, you know, it's like you can doodle around with this brush a lot. Okay, so you can go and like, oh, I just want to like whatever, maybe draw some expressions or something like that, you know. So almost like an ink brush, but it's got a little bit texture and yeah, you got a lot of pressure control over that brush as well. Okay, so a little bit more like a doodle, more like a sketching brush. Clean tone is the same thing, but it's like the shape fill actually fills it with a very low opacity. Okay, and but the clean tone actually does it with the pressure that you are applying. So, okay, so you want to like you want to do something like this, I would say. Oh my God, where is that drawing? I'm just gonna bring that in very quickly. Oh, actually, I don't have it. Okay. Anyway, I'm not gonna waste any time here. So actually, let's say you have a drawing here really quick. Say I'm gonna draw it with this one. So let's say you have like a drawing like this. Okay, just a random shape here, and you want to fill that in This is basically the brush that I use when I am teaching shape, because I want to like show in different shapes. So what I do is like take a color and take a layer underneath, and then I just like fill that in. Okay.
Which brush is that again?
Is a clean tone, right? The last
Clean
one.
tone. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I have that one, and then I can just go with another color here a little bit and say, oh, here's another shape. So, you know, let's say like make a green one here really quick. So I would say, oh, here's like a green one. See, there's another fourth shape here. So this is very useful in terms of like telling students like, oh, these are like, look, these kind of different shapes actually make up that one shape here. Now this could be anything. This could be leg, or this could be arm, this could be arms, this could be whole body. I just really want to show you that drawing if I have that really quick here. Shape demo. Yeah, don't have it. Anyway, okay, I'll show you maybe in some other future session. Okay, so here are some drawings, that I did with this one. Okay, now this is another use I just found out after I made the brush. So it's like, oh, this is a really cool render brush. You'd be like, oh, oh, it can do that. Yes, it can do that. So let's take that. So here it is. Okay, this brush here, this is the FORCEFUL second number in the pack. And so what I did is I just quickly drew the gesture, gesture of the animal, like that. And then what I did is really make very decisive marks, okay, with the brush. So it's like, oh, here's the nose like that, and here's the face. So very, very decisive marks, by the way. Okay. So working very confidently, and you can find out very great amount of uses of these brushes. Not like, oh, what we are just providing you with, that's the only case for it, but you might want to use it. You just want to test it out, okay? Test out the sizes, test out the speed, that you draw, and like, yeah, just go ahead and experiment with it. But they definitely do the job that what they are made for, okay, and very, very amazing job, they do. So yeah, I think that's it. So I'm gonna just quickly do some gestures here really quick, though, which is I wanted to do for a long time. All right, so we got a pose here, very amazing pose. And just like I said, the main inspiration, especially for this brush, I would say for gesture pencil, is just to draw like an animator. Glenn Keane is again like inspiration for this one. So let's get some inner Glenn Keane, out. All right, so I'm just gonna do it with this brush here, but just like I show you like the uses of all the other brushes. So just playing around, trying to like, I'm using everything, okay, here. So this thread is not about just like, oh, this is what we are teaching or something like that. So I'm like using everything, just like Svenny and Mike did. We're using shape, form, force, form, shape, and anatomy, right? All the other things. Okay, so you see, like, again, this brush is not as forgiving, okay, but that's what I enjoy. The aggressive drawing lovers out there are just gonna like it a lot. Okay? So quickly, because this knee's coming out towards us, I'm just gonna do a quick. I want this like feel of this like leg coming out. You see, like I'm putting a lot of form in there. By the way, you cannot see the other hand, but I'm just gonna cheat that with it. So I'm just gonna put the little shape in there. It's like, oh, there's a hand, and I'm gonna raise this one, this part here. So that is actually making the shape more forceful. Okay. Now we get that. We get this like whole pelvis section here, and oops, where does this come from? Okay. Now we got the other leg, which is we'll just quickly do this. And I think it's a front to front. I can go in front to front in this one. Okay, just grabbing the energy, like boom, right there, like all the energy into the ground, basically. Okay, so kind of like this, like that. And see, I'm just enjoying, and this brush allows me to do so. Just just enjoy this stuff. Okay, we're gonna do a quick head here. So actually, you know why I'm doing this more, because Wendy actually showed you a little bit more careful studies. So he's like he's basically showing you like how to use these brushes as a part of like, just like working a little bit slower and understanding everything. Here, I'm just like just enjoying it, and just like what I said. So here's the knee. Actually, I just really want to have this blockiness over this. The inside ankle is higher, right? So let's get this. Let's get the feet here really quickly, right? Like that. So that gives us a little bit more base to work on. Okay. Yeah. So here it is. Here's a quick gesture of this guy here. Michael Mondi, by the way, to be specific. All right, there we go. So how much time we got, Mike?
We're pretty much done.
Just allow me to do one.
You could do one more if you want. It's okay
Yeah.
if we go over a little bit.
Let's try out. Let's try a hand. So I'm just
Yeah,
like,
that's cool.
just like changing. Let's try to change the subject a little bit. Okay. So it's actually the same thing. And if any of you are wondering, like, oh, what was the process of drawing hands? It's actually the same thing. Force, form, shape, anatomy. Like the 4 pillars of force work for everything, especially when it comes to like human body, like living things, I would say. All right. Something like this, right? I'm just like, you see, like there's a dip down into that, right? It's kind of like this, and I'm just like drawing the energies instead of drawing the hand. Okay, so I'm drawing the energy of the hand instead of drawing the hand itself. It's got a little bit longer. See, this finger is going in there. Oh, that pinky is like super amazing. Look at the energy of this pinky, and look at this energy of this. Actually, I'm quite amazed to see, like, I've been researching on hands a lot, for some project here, but I'm quite amazed to see how stretch and squash is actually applying to the hand itself. So here's like a stretch, here's a squash in the hand.
Yeah,
And
it's cool.
yeah.
I like that pinky coming down or going upward, and because of that, it's compressing the whole right side of the hand.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, because of that, you see like the hand is having this squash opportunity. All right, we get the tendons in. Okay, so here's my favorite part actually. To draw the thumb, it's actually just my favorite part. So here's thumb is in very foreshortened position. So I'm just gonna do very quick cross contour lines, I would say, like that. Actually, like let's see this brush here again. This is actually able to take my being, in traditional sense, you don't want something that's like crumbling underneath your paper. So you don't want like super hard, like brittle leads, that's gonna break off. You want something that's gonna take your being, take your physicality over. Okay, and I think this now the screen is not gonna break for sure. It doesn't really matter like which brush you use, but the thing is, I think it's like a justice to what kind of pressure that I'm applying there. If I'm doing light, it's not just about the pressure, but if I'm doing light, it's gonna go light. If I'm doing dark, that's gonna go dark. I think Swenley mentioned this. It's one of the direct brushes, So whatever you do, that's gonna be that's what you got. Okay, whatever you do, that's what you got. Anyway, so yeah, we got the gesture of the hand. Now you can put the form in there, the shape in there, but probably for some other shape. Okay. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed the brush back, that we all worked on really hard. And I'm just gonna hand it over to Mike to conclude the shape. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys. Well, that's it, right? So get back to Photoshop. I hope that you guys enjoyed the session today, and that you're excited as excited as we are about the brushes. It's been quite a journey. Like I said, to Mrityunjay's point of 5 months of us testing and testing and testing and going in from week to week to week with suggestions on how to tweak it to make them as usable as possible for you. They've gone through a lot of subtle iteration over the last 5 months to a place where I felt comfortable releasing it to you guys, and where I think it's really going to be useful for you, basically on how they apply to force. So thank you again. The link is down in the description box. So if you're interested, go to the website and check it out. Otherwise, we will see you next week for another awesome live force drawing session. Take care, guys. And thanks again, Swanli and Mrityunjay. Bye-bye.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.